Welcome to another edition of the Hoop Scoop. I'm Jarret Johnson, and this time I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. It's a triumphant return of the dynamic duo here on Inside the Raiders. Joe, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. Appreciate that sausage sandwich you got me.
Look at it. Oh, yeah,
not bad.
Yeah, if y'all, those who don't know, that Texas barbecue here in Lubbock at HEB sure is tasty. So yeah, of course we had to eat. We can't just get together and do a video, right? We gotta eat and hang out a little bit. So. But we actually, one of the reasons we are getting together to do this video is because there is some, as serious as sports gets, I guess, talk about Red Raider basketball. First off, they're coming off that loss against Houston. It was a really humbling loss. I mean, honestly, in a lot of ways, it was a worse score worse loss than the score indicated. Kevin McCullough still hasn't played. And then Joel Ntambwe has left the program as of Tuesday morning. So, Amari Burnett struggling, McCullough hurt, Ntambwe gone, big loss to an in-state team.
And then you get a cancellation on the St. John's game.
Cancellation on St. John's. So in a very short matter of days, or less than 2 weeks, we have all kinds of drama already, Joe. So I wanted to get your input on all that after that big setup. Just your takeaway from this crazy already start to the 2020-2021 basketball.
Hopefully you just get all this stuff out of the way right now. Yeah. And this is the end of it here, and it'll be smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. But you hope that's the case. So yeah, there's a lot going down. I mean, the Houston loss was not good. Okay. It was not as bad as it could have been because Tech made some semblance of a comeback late in that game and seemed to kind of wake up and snap out of it a little bit. Look, Houston's a really good team. I believe they're potentially an Elite Eight team. So I don't want to minimize that loss, but it's not, I don't think, quite a devastating loss. No, it's disappointing. Don't get me wrong. And Coach Beard in the press conference afterwards,
he always looks like it's the end of the world.
Oh,
which you like. I'm glad.
Yeah, but I think even especially in this one.
Really?
I've seen him in some losses where he was kind of, it happens. But they expected to win this game. Yeah. They needed. The deal is, you don't get too many opportunities because of the short COVID non-conference schedule to play really good opponents to help your resume. Yeah. So each one of these sorts of games against a team like Houston is magnified.
Yes.
You really need that for later in the season, and then to lose by double digits like that, that's one opportunity gone. Now you got St. John's not scheduled; it's off the charts. So the only other non-con is worth a darn is LSU.
Yeah.
For that, if that doesn't get canceled out,
at least it's there.
Yeah.
And they've already established kind of a precedence for canceling going to Lubbock. Nobody wants to come play Tech here, anyways.
Yeah.
Even with the less crowd. But now you could point to Lubbock's numbers and say, oh, that's why we don't want to go. But I don't know what it's like in Baton Rouge, the numbers, but I guarantee you Beard and Texas Tech is going to want to go play that game there.
Yeah. You need some sort of a marquee win outside of conference play, probably, to help your cause later on. Of course, we don't know exactly what's going to happen in Big 12 play either. Maybe they come close to running the table and it doesn't matter.
Well, let's just hope they play the games at this point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just started this season, and there's been a lot of cancellations and postponements around the country.
So yeah, it's pretty much up in the air.
Well, let's look at Ntambwe, because that was the big news today when we're filming this. There's been some talk I've seen on social media, on our board, inside the Red Raiders. It's not that big a deal. He wasn't that impressive. He wasn't getting a lot of minutes. And on one hand, I understand that. But on the other hand, look, I was already concerned about the lack of length, lack of depth in the interior. You take Ntambwe, I thought he was the second guy after Santos Silva, who had, let's face it, a terrible game against Houston. I mean, he was, 4 points, 5 rebounds, 6 turnovers.
6 turnovers, yeah.
But that was concerning. I'm not saying that's how he's going to play for the whole season, but this is not good. Losing Ntambwe, I mean, you can spin it however you want. To me, that's, and not to mention all the waste of time, the resources on his scholarship, on just trying to get him eligible last year, all the drama the summer. Is he going to play? Is he not? Then he comes back late, and then whose scholarship did it cost? there's just a lot that is negative from him leaving at this point, Joe. But I'm interested to get your take on it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, just from a basketball standpoint, as you mentioned, you become a smaller team now. You become a less deep team. And then one of your other big men who you don't know how much you're even going to count on him to begin with, Golden, Big Vlad Golden. He's got a busted wrist or something, and he's not playing right.
Yeah.
So basically you're down to Santos Silva and Tyreek Smith right now on the inside.
Who's played better than I expected.
That's a definite plus right there.
Yeah.
And those guys, that's where you're gonna be getting your minutes from those guys in there, and then you hope Golden is able to come back.
Do they have
nobody else? No, I mean you got some big wing type players,
right.
But they're not. No, you don't want those guys playing like the 4 or the 5 or any sort of position like that. They're not built to do that.
Do you think this means Shannon's going to play a lot of 4 though?
It could be.
I mean, especially with Golden not playing. I mean, to me, that's the only thing you could do, really. You know.
I mean, size-wise, he's the closest thing you got to that. I mean, bottom line, you're smaller, you're not as deep. If there's any sort of a silver lining to this, and this is just pure speculation on my part, it could be that there was a little bit of a chemistry issue here. I mean, it may be that with Ntambwe, the decision wasn't entirely Ntambwe's. Right. Look, I'm not going to lie. From what I saw from Chris Beard and his comments about Ntambwe, which I asked a question or two about him probably a month ago or something like that, he just didn't seem terribly enchanted.
Terribly. This is why I brought him in for this video. Terribly enchanted. That's not, something I would say.
Right. Well, he was not. I mean, there's, Beard just has a way about him. I mean,
absolutely.
He's never going to come out and say negative words about anybody.
No.
But sometimes he will say positive things in such a way that you're like, I'm not.
That didn't
quite
sound good. Yeah.
And that's the sense that I got. So maybe. Ntambwe wasn't exactly helping with the locker room and team chemistry and so forth and so on. And at least from that standpoint, it could be addition by subtraction. Yeah. But on the court and in terms of personnel, size, depth, it's a hit. It hurts.
Absolutely. And I mean, I heard some people say that, they weren't surprised based on how few minutes he played. So I get that, and the fact, that was something I noted. Like, he only played 5 minutes against Houston.
Right.
Ouch, something's going on there. Yeah. But I'm not going to pretend like, I expected him to be gone from the program on Tuesday after Sunday, not only playing 5 minutes. So the fact that he's gone is a surprise. But the fact, based on a little lazy with rotation, could have hit the boards a little harder, and then he wasn't receiving minutes. I mean, I'm not surprised. You don't play defense. You don't show effort all the time, you're not going to play for Chris Beard, which is what we saw with him only getting 5 minutes. So, obviously, for whatever reason, they released a statement, which you can find on Inside the Red Raiders, basically that Beard said, he's leaving for personal reasons, but he's going to follow his career, and he's rooting for him, which is all the right things to say. But, moving forward, though, Joe, I think we'll see if they replace the St. John's game, because as of recording this, we don't know. But then they have, Grambling State? Who else do they have coming up to look forward to? Anybody that you're kind of... Because I don't think they start Big 12 play until December 17th against Kansas at home. Right. So they have some games between now and then that aren't really... I think they'll play in Frisco, too. They'll play Corpus Christi,
right.
So,
Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
That's right. They'll play them there, so that I think they're scheduled to play them, but no real eye-popping games with St. John's being canceled that we know of right now. So I think, what do you want to see between now and December 17th with that Kansas game looming?
The sad thing is that given the level of competition, there's not much that we can see that we're going to say is definitive. Yeah. Because, what is performance by these guys or by the team against dramatically inferior competition?
Yeah.
That's why I have a problem with scheduling these sorts of teams in the non-conference.
Yeah.
You're just not getting any valid, significant information about your own. You're not learning anything about your team when you're playing these guys. What did Tech learn from playing Northwestern State and Sam Houston State that helped them against Houston? Obviously, to me, not very much.
Yeah.
Houston, on the other hand, played a pretty doggone good Boise State team and won that game by about 10, 11 points. Boise State's a solid team. They got something out of that. They learned something. And I think that gave them an advantage over Texas Tech. And so, I mean, really, unless they manage to find a really solid opponent to replace St. John's, this team is going to go into Kansas pretty much blind, and so will we, because we just are not going to know that much about the team until they face another stiff opponent, man, like Houston. And Kansas will be, obviously, in that same sort of a caliber. So, you know, I mean, they're in a little bit of a rock and a hard place, and that's why that St. John's game was going to be so important. This is another bounce back stress test for you.
You know, St. John's didn't want to come in here with an angry beard and, and tech team, you know, like...
they were probably happy that COVID numbers were high.
Absolutely.
That was a nice little rationale, perhaps.
Like, man, we really don't want to go in there and play them right now. No, what can we do? Like, Corona!
Right. Yeah, you can. I think you're just probably... there's probably been a lot of this going around. Right? You know, the coaches use this as an excuse to avoid a game that they decide they really don't want to play.
Absolutely. Well, look, it's not all doom and gloom. They still have a lot of talent on the roster. If there's any coach I could choose ever, probably in Texas Tech's history, or at least 1A, 1B with Coach Knight, of course, it would be Coach Beard to turn this around, figure out the roster, you know, and still have a great season. I'm still looking forward to the next game, whenever that may be, and obviously all the great Yeager shots and great input from you, and then you know, of course, our young Bradley Fernandez, and looking forward to the season. So with that, I want to thank you, Joe, for your input.
Sure, thank you.
Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.